Yeah. So I think
All
I'm
right,
glad that
let's kick it off.
yeah, definitely I think it's really important to talk about the opportunity to sell. Everyone's scared of interest rates. So, as a real estate agent, my name is Hector Perez, real estate agent, Better Homes and Gardens, licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Um, One thing that I've been noticing that I can maybe help people with and maybe ease some of that tension and concerns is talking about appreciation, talking about equity. Just sold a home, just finished talking to you about it earlier. Just sold a home for 253. It was they bought it only 4 years ago for 152. So there was 100,000 difference that we sold it on in only 4 years. Appreciation 65%. Also meeting with a couple of clients, possible clients in the future that want to sell their homes. They bought it at 250. I did the market analysis already on the property. It's in Berlin, and we can list it at about 330, 340. Need to see the property, obviously. This isn't Zillow. This isn't a Z estimate. Got to see the property. But I did my due diligence. I did my research. Preliminary numbers, at least 330. And they only bought it once again. I don't have my notes with me on that house, but they only bought it like a couple of years ago, like 5, 6 years ago. Already,
Insane.
um, already could get gains of at least 80,000. So that's one thing that we could definitely talk about right now, John. What can we do with this money? What can we do with all this appreciation? We're going to sell our home. Let's say there's a closing check for $90,000 that the seller can walk away with. What are some things that these sellers can do on their next purchase, on their next buy?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is John Soto. I'm a guaranteed rate. I'm a mortgage lender. I'm licensed in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Florida, and Texas. My bank is
Everywhere.
licensed in 50 states. So of course, got to put that out there. Credibility. So when you sell your first house, people think your next house you have to put 20% down. No,
Yeah,
you don't have to. You can go as
yeah,
little as 3.5% with an FHA loan. If you do not have an FHA loan, you can go 5% conventional. So there's a lot of options out there. So people can, let's say if this person right here, they have 100,000, or they probably got away with around 85, 80K ish after all the fees that they have to do when they're selling the house, but they don't
yeah.
have to use all of that 80K. They can invest most of that money and then use some of that money for the next house. Maybe they're downsizing, maybe they're upgrading, depending on what they're trying to do. There's a lot of options for people. So there's a lot of equity in the house. You mentioned one thing in regards of Zillow. I want to touch base a little bit more for our listeners. So you mentioned
Yeah.
Zillow estimate versus your deep dive due diligence. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that because a lot of people love Zillow, love thinking Zillow estimates are amazing. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're very far, sometimes they actually missing on a lot of equity that you may have because they don't do that deep dive due diligence like a realtor like yourself.
Yeah, I'm speaking with a lot of realtors, even did some content on it. It's starting to frustrate a lot of agents out there and a lot of us real estate professionals. The Z estimate, um, they aren't seeing the property. So yeah, they can be looking at comparables of properties that have sold in the area, similar square footage and bed and bath and that things of that nature. But there might be some upgrades. There actually might be some downgrades. So maybe you didn't maintain your property in the last 10, 20 years. Maybe you have the same carpet from 1976. Maybe you have the same light fixtures. Like, look at my fireplace. This is something that we just did in the home a couple of years ago. This property, Sticklerville property, I think it was built in 1970 something, and it was the same fireplace from 1970 something. Like you could tell when you walked in, the cabinetry, the old fireplace. You could start to tell what they upgraded and what they didn't upgrade. The same stove from 1970, the electrical stove. Um, so just some things to think about. about even in your own particular home, you
Yep.
can gauge like, hey, if I was to sell my house right now, I wonder how much I could get. Yeah, you could look at Zillow, but you know for yourself what you've upgraded, what you've maintained, what you haven't maintained, old roof, new roof,
Yeah.
things that you could talk about if you're ready to list. I'm about to actually get a new roof soon in the next week, and I'm kind of scared it's going to be expensive.
Roof.
Yeah, I'm
Rooftop.
I'm I'm a, I'm nervous, man. Um, but you have to properly maintain your house. Went
Mhm.
to a listing. It was kind of close to Penns Grove. Don't remember the exact town. Um, on this listing appointment, and it was exactly what I'm talking about right now. The gentleman thought because Zillow said 310 that I'm going to say 310 and let's list it, but the property wasn't maintained. It was outdated. It was a little, I don't know, a little dingy. Um, so like that messed with my range as I went and saw the property and evaluated the property. What was obtained, what was maintained, what was upgraded, what wasn't
Mhm.
upgraded. A lot of stuff wasn't upgraded. So he's like, yeah, down the street, and I had it too. They sold for 315, they sold for 310. That's what I'm gonna sell for. But that other property, his was like 1970. The other property was built in 2000, so it was
Uh,
newer and it was
okay.
maintained. And just looking at the pictures for the other property for 315, it was beautiful. It had nice flooring, nice paint job. It just looked from the pictures that it was more maintained than the gentleman's property that I wanted to list at.
So yeah, so
Um,
it's all about education. A lot of these sellers don't know what they have, so it's very, very tricky. So let's talk more about first-time home sellers. People always talk about
yeah,
first-time home buyers,
yeah,
buyers this, but
yeah,
let's give our energy to our sellers.
yeah.
If you never sold a home before, you can own multiple homes, but if you never sold a home before, you don't know the ins and out of selling. What are the like closing costs? The closing costs, you're paying the agents, so you're paying both agents. You're paying transfer tax fees depending on what state you're in. That can vary. In Jersey, what is the Jersey like? About 1% around there.
Something like that.
And
So
then
usually for, let's make up a number. If you're in a real estate transaction, the norm, I can't say it's the standard, right? But
Mhm.
what's usually going on is that 6% commission, 3%, 3%. You usually it's always negotiable, right? But so we do that six if that's what it is, and then add 1%. So that is how we tell our sellers that little estimate plus deed recording and things of that nature is what the seller is probably going to pay out on. So when we build that seller net sheet, okay, we're gonna sell for 250. You owe 150, so that's 100, and then with minus the 7%. So that's about what you're going to walk away with. So we do that six if that's what it is, and then add 1%. So that is how we tell our sellers that little estimate plus deed recording and things of that nature is what the seller is probably going to pay out on. So when we build that seller net sheet, okay, we're gonna sell for 250. You owe 150, so that's 100, and then with minus the 7%. So that's about what you're going to walk away with on that closing check
so
estimates.
let's give an
As Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah,
So
like
let's
so
give an
that's yeah,
example.
go
So
ahead. Go ahead, go ahead, go
400K,
ahead.
400K home, you're looking at 6%. So that's, what's that? 24K
Yeah,
to pay the realtors, 1% for transfer tax. You're at 28. Let's say
yeah.
2,000, 1,500 for an attorney. So all in, you're looking around 30K. So that's 30K. Let's say you owed 150 on the house. Let's say you owe 200.
Yeah.
You're
170
looking
left.
around a profit of 170 right there, right?
Yeah,
Did I do
yeah,
my numbers correctly?
yeah. I got my calculator.
That's
You're good. Good to
that's
go.
that's a nice profit, and you could do a lot of damage. You could buy an investment property. You can invest in the stock market. Just make sure you're using that money wisely to help you go to the next level. You don't want to just splurge on a car, splurge on this. You want to utilize that money to actually help your family possibly get some generational wealth, some passive income. So there's a lot of opportunity when selling a house.
Yeah, I've I've sold personally from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, and before I really got into real estate, I was trying to be smart with the money. So, we only threw, I think it was 6% on the conventional, and with some of
Oh,
the rest of the money, I bought a ton of tools to be able to work on any project in the house. I spent like 5, 6 thousand on tools, miter saw, hammers,
nice,
drills.
nice.
I,
You're a
I,
handyman.
I'm not really not that handy, but I just wanted the tools. My dad is actually coming from Puerto Rico today. I'm gonna pick him up. He's a way more handy than me, but he taught me a little bit. But you just learn. And long story short, I still got the receipts. It was over 5,000 in items for the house. We did a little bit of demo work. We took out a wall. I spoke to a contractor, and he said it wasn't load bearing. So I knew, also with my sister, who's really talented. She's like the Bob Vila, the Puerto Rican Bob Vila, but the female version. She's good. She's like rip from here to here. The saws off, and then yeah, it was a perfect clean cut. And I've removed the wall, removed tables, bought new appliances. It was around.
Awesome.
I'm into numbers, so I wrote it down. It was like 20,000. So with the
It's not
purchase
bad.
of with the purchase of the property, with buying tools, with a little bit of the renovation work, it was like $40,000, and I still had money left over
Awesome.
for just anything with the house. I even bought a sofa, so like a big screen TV. So I really think I got a financial advisor that I would love to communicate with. And when we do my webinar on March 7th, kind of talk about this thing, like this is exactly what I want financial advisor to talk about. Like, what are you going to do with this money? You're a first time seller. You have $100,000. You only need 30. You only need 40 for that new property. What are you going to do with the rest? How are you going to allocate all this money? Use it wisely. I heard my wife's cousin. She wanted a listing appointment with me last year. She wanted to sell her property once again. It was a crazy number, like 230. She just bought it for like 200, and she wanted 230 like 1 year later. That was like, it was like a year and a half. It was a little bit too far a reach. So she really didn't like my advice when I told her I'm not sure we can list it at. Like, you just bought it and you haven't done any upgrades, any renovations, or nothing. Long story short, long story long, she wanted to throw whatever gains she could get, whatever it was, all of it into the next property. So, okay, I want to get this sale. I want to get this closing check off of all these gains, whatever it is. I want to buy this $300,000 property with all the money to lower my monthly mortgage number. And that was strike number two for me. I was like you're not getting it. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you throw 70,000, 80,000, whatever the closing check would be, all on the new listing, the new property that you'd like to buy? You're going to be stuck with nothing. What about damages? What about any renovations, any touch ups, new sofa, new furniture?
Hmm. Hmm.
You get a new house, you want new stuff. You want a new TV, you
Hmm.
want a new sofa. Like, I do it, everyone does it. So you
Hmm.
kind of need to budget and allocate money for that. I need 5,000. I need another 10,000 because I want the sofa, I want the 80-inch TV, blah blah blah, the new table. So like, it was strike two. We didn't work together. And my wife told me it was going to be a headache anyway. I was still willing to give it a shot, like, because
You
I,
usually is, right? Usually is.
I,
Working
I
with.
wanted, I wanted to do the transaction. Like, it's not really about making money for me right
Hmm.
now. It's more about doing a transaction. I want to get better. Everything for me is about getting better, smarter. And it's something I talk a lot about with my educational content on social media. It's about expressing and relaying information to everyone, to my
Mhm.
friend, to John to me. That's what we're doing right now, collaborating and just getting more information and passing over the information.
Bingo.
Get good news, right? Almost like the Bible. I don't want to get too religious, but giving the good news. So it's with real estate. I'm giving the good news to consumer, customer, potential client, a friend, or just someone who's going to catch us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever we're at. That's really my driver, and that's like what's motivating me to continue to do it. One person watching, two people watching, 20 people watching. We can record it, we can clip it, and we can send it
Yep.
all over the place.
100%.
So
And the
that's
good news I also want to
uh,
mention in regards, if someone's selling a house and they have a lot of profit, are they going to get taxed on that money? So if you're single, you can actually, and that was your primary residence for 2 out of the 5 years, you
yeah,
can actually get up to 250 tax free. If you're married, you can get up to 500,000. That's $500,000. So that's something that a lot of people don't know. If you lived in the house for 2 out of the 5 years, and if I'm not mistaken, the IRS takes a look at your taxes. That's how they qualify you on if you lived in the property or not. So that's something to keep in mind. And um, if it's an investment property and you don't qualify for that 2 out of the 5 years, there's something called 1031 exchange for investment properties. So you can not pay capital gains taxes on that money if you defer it and buy another property. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of loopholes that I would love to let our listeners and people know about. And like you said, education is key. A lot of people don't know and they're scared. Without information, you get fearful. But if you're comfortable with the information, you can utilize the resources to your advantage. Like a great professional like yourself, a realtor, a great professional like myself, a lender, we can guide you through those steps. And we can also speak to financial advisors. So it's always good to speak to professionals to see what your next step is. It's always good to plan your steps. You don't want to just do it. It's good to plan your steps.
yeah, plan it, budget it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
check your
Mm-hmm.
numbers. That's why, just anyone financial, or just a friend that that's, I don't know, really good with money, an accountant
Mm-hmm.
or anything of that nature, I think is huge. I think it's critical. I think it's a wonderful asset, a wonderful tool to have in your toolbox.
Yep.
Um, in the webinar, I'm trying to get, I want to do a lot of these Zoom webinars with someone credit, someone financial,
Yep. Credit
someone
is key.
who can, like, just like I talked about, what do you do with the money? How do you allocate the
Mm-hmm.
funds? How do you spread the money around wisely so you don't, blow it all and blow that $95,000 blessing? Um, like, I think that's definitely important. Like, that's what I also talk to all the sellers about too. Just my
Mm-hmm.
personal experience. I say, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Here's the seller sheet. It says 95,000, just about. It's a rough estimate, but it's about there. One thing is, like, what are you gonna do, like, with that next property that you buy? Hey, I wouldn't do 30%, 20%. I wouldn't throw all. That's what I said to the last property that I sold, and they listened to me. They were miseducated too, and they thought 20% on the next property. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I said, whoa, 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 just you can do the conventional with as low as like even five. So think about it with conventional on five, and work the numbers that way. Communicate. They moved to a different state, so I said communicate with the agent and have her
Mm-hmm.
talk to the mortgage lender, for that deal and break down what you can afford. Is it a 400,000? Is it a 350,000? Kind of got to work backwards.
Yep.
That's the advice that I always give. I actually think a lender is the first step in the process. Everyone always says realtor number one, real estate agent number one, I don't think
Mhm.
so. I
I
think they
agree.
should talk to a lender and get all the stats, all the financials first, see what you can get pre-approved for, because you don't know what you can get if you don't know what you can afford. Um, you need to know your monthly numbers. Okay, my rent is 1,800 right now, and I'm doing okay with that. Like I'm paying all my bills. That seems to be that 1,800, maybe even 2,000. That's what I can afford. Then you look for the property that's going to get you in that 1,800 to 2,000 monthly number. Um, Also, include gas, utilities, and all those kind of
Hmm.
things, right?
Hmm.
Especially
Water.
if you don't pay it the rental, add those in as well on that monthly budget. I think it's huge to have an Excel sheet monthly budget type of thing. Me and my wife have had it since we've been married, before real estate. Like you need to know what you're spending. What are those monthly bills? What are they around? What's the gas? What's the electric? What's that sewer bill that comes from the township every 3 months? 300?
Hmm.
What are those numbers? And write those things down. Then add them all up and see that number. That's what you're spending a month plus groceries, right? You put that
Hmm. And
and
the cost
gas.
of groceries keeps going up, right?
Yeah, man. Cost of groceries keep going up. I go to Aldi. I try to go to Aldi. I'm cheap. I go like 3 times a week. I only buy like $50 at a time. I'm trying to save, but I keep going. I just keep on going. But I'm so scared
And that's the
about
conversation we
inflation.
have to have with like our culture. We got to get comfortable talking about money. I feel like we hold it in and we don't want to learn about it. We think everything is a scam. We got to really get comfortable with talking about money because I feel like a lot of us are not comfortable.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, I'm really trying to reach out to every consumer,
Mm-hmm.
every possible client, and tell them to talk to a lender and get these numbers and
Mm-hmm.
get this budget down. Um, you
Yep.
know, be- Before anything, you don't want to look at a property because
Yeah.
you thought you had it in Cherry Hill, but you wanted a full 4 bedroom, 2 bath, and you can't afford that. It's going to hurt. And then when you see that you can only afford 230 and it's a 2 bedroom one in Cherry Hill, and now you got to look at a different town, it's going to hurt. So like that's the first step in the process, understanding. And a lot of agents don't want to show property if you're not pre-approved. That's a whole other
Yep. That's
topic
another
in itself.
conversation right there.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're not pre-approved. You're not serious. I don't want to. I am getting to that point. In the beginning, I was gung ho. I loved to show property. As we realized, they're not serious. They're not pre-approved. They have no idea what they can afford. They want to see a $300,000 property, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 floors, in Vineland, but they can't afford it. We don't even know what they can afford. We don't know their financials. Lenders don't have any information. We don't have the letter. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
the document. We
Mm-hmm.
can't place an offer to the listing
Yeah.
agent without the sheet. So it's the pre-approval sheet, it's the offer, you put them both together and then you send them. Um, a legitimate offer. So like it's just pointless, and it limits how many people we're going to show properties to, because we want to show properties to people that are serious. This is our job.
I
This
agree.
is how we make the money.
I agree.
And
And you don't want to give the bad news to someone that goes to the property without being pre-approved. They love it. They get excited. They talk to a lender, and they're not ready yet. So you got to get pre-approved. You got to see what your numbers are, and like you mentioned, you can get pre-approved for a higher number, but that monthly payment may not be that 2,000 that you're comfortable with. It may be a little bit more. Usually, when I like talking about leasing a car versus financing a car, leasing is usually cheaper than financing, and you actually own the actual car. So that payment is usually higher. So people gotta understand when owning a house, your monthly might increase, but I still want you to feel comfortable with that payment. I don't want you to be house poor. I don't want you to just all your money going to the actual mortgage. So that's something to keep in mind. while we descend, is there anything else that you want to touch base on first-time home sellers that we haven't touched yet? I think we covered
Um,
all of our notes, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
But just in case,
covered a lot of stuff. I really enjoyed our little collabo. But
awesome. Let's possibly do this once a month. We'll figure it out. But once the live ends, make sure you download it
yeah,
and maybe do the little twist with the Spanish captions. I actually like that.